and good morning again from the Madrid Book Fair, where the rain has given us a break. We are fortunate enough to have today with us Kurt Thielen from Revolutions. I hear they're just coming from Reimagine, so you just, took a taxi and came here. We're very thankful for that. How's been the show so far?
It's been really good. I thought Reimagine had a really high level. It was really interesting to listen to some of the stuff, and our panel went quite well, which I'm always happy about because I'm always a little bit nervous before these things.
I hear that you're very disappointed that you came looking for the good Spanish weather and you came to a morning of rain. But
I was here last year in Madrid and we had 36 degrees, which was a bit excessive, but like it was better than the rain for me. I like the heat.
Okay. Well, we're getting a break from the rain now, so I think that we're in good shape. So talk to us a little bit about Revolutions. I know that you guys work in audio. Audio is all the rage. Has been the only market that has been consistently growing in the last year. The latest reports indicate a 6 to 8% growth depending on the market, whereas paper stays flat. So tell us a little bit about your services.
Well, our background is in the music business. I'm working in the music business forever.
We'll talk later about that because I know that you've been doing this thing for a long time. I mean, I guess it's been evolving, it's been shifting.
I've been running record companies since 1983, unfortunately. But I was running Rough Trade Records in Germany, worked with the Smiths and Yoda, and later with Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, and these kind of things. And then in 2003, 2004, we founded Revolution as the first digital-only distributor for independent music in Europe.
Okay.
And not much, like we always had some relationship with audiobooks because some of the labels were releasing audiobooks as well. But we really got serious about it in 2010 when we started working with the biggest independent publisher in Germany, Bastei Lübbe. And we started putting audiobooks on streaming services like Napster, for instance, and which proved to be very successful very quickly. And then Spotify started getting involved in audiobooks in Germany as well. They actively pushed it. They worked very closely with us, and suddenly it became a really essential part of our business.
Okay.
And that's, I think, where we maybe make a difference to other companies. We have this music background, we know how streaming works, we have developed tools to make this work for publishers, and I think that's why we are successful with that. And we are obviously trying to broaden that to international more and more. We have people in Mexico, in the UK, we have people in the United States, in France and in Spain. So for both music and audiobook, and we are developing this further as we go along.
Okay, but for the publishers listening to us, what you do is you take their content, you take publishers that have current available content on it. If they're interested in making that into an audio book, you can help them with the entire process.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Like I think that
you handle production, distribution,
we
sales.
we do handle production where it's necessary.
Okay.
For instance, in Germany, the publishers don't need that service very much because they are used to the whole process, and the market is big enough to sustain it. So we don't need to help them. But like in, for instance, Latin America, we do help publishers because I think there's more demand. There needs to be a bigger range of audiobooks, and we try to help with that too.
So you help with the production, then once the publisher has that book made into an audiobook or an audio file, then through you they can distribute that across all the channels.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's a little bit of a translation work we do. Like we send the audiobook to all services, download, streaming, all that. But for instance, if you send an audiobook to Spotify, you need to translate the metadata to music metadata, more or less. And that's a work we do as well. But like it's for us, it's really important to send audiobooks to all outlets who are relevant for audiobooks, or who could be relevant for audiobooks, and who could maximize the income for publishers. Because something we meet quite often is a certain skepticism of publishers, for instance, in Latin America or sometimes in Spain as well. how, like, if a finance will work out. And the finance will only work out if you offer the audiobook everywhere possible, not only in one shop like Audible, who are doing a great job, for instance, in many countries, but like they are only one outlet. So you need to go where the consumer is and offer it wherever people want to listen to audiobooks.
Now, one of the biggest challenges for publishers when they try to sell their books on standard outlets, whether it's bookstores or online channels or anything like that, is to have the right metadata, right? Because you affect discoverability. You make sure people cannot find your product if you don't have the right metadata. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of metadata on the audio business and the international markets, because it's something that I know we talked about it in the past.
It's very important because, as you said, like, it's very difficult to find audiobooks if you're not tagging them, if you're not putting them into the right context with via the metadata. Having said that, in this very moment, for instance, Spotify doesn't have, as an example, a field for the narrator. They don't have that information available, so you can't search for a narrator. Because of that, we started supplying search tools. We have an app which is called Lismio, which is like a search tool for audiobooks. And we are developing this more and more in a presentation stage for audiobooks with recommendations, with a web app where publishers can present their range, certain releases, certain offers, because I think it's really important to make it as easy for the consumer to find the repertoire as possible. And that's not always the case in all platforms, and that's why we develop tools which help with that process.
Okay. Now, so you've been doing this since 1983. I mean, obviously you've seen the entire wave. It's your perception that the audiobook market it's changing, it's growing, it's emerging. I mean, what's your perception? Because audiobooks have been around for a long time, and it's not something that happened in the last 5 years. But they seem to be getting more attention.
Yeah, I think we have to look further than just audiobook. If we talk about it, audiobook is growing in many markets and it's getting more importance, and people are listening to audiobooks like they are listening to music. I think audiobooks are as close to music as they are to books, because like it's this is the tool people listen with, and it's something which is the same process. But like if we're talking about audio, we're talking about audiobooks, podcast, music, all the three of them. And when you look at the development of podcasts as well, audio has become so much more important. And as well, now we see that many magazines and newspapers offer more and more audio. And as very often, the New York Times is leading the way with their new New York Times audio app, where you find lots of content from the paper, which you can listen to, because they see that the demand for that is growing. People want to be able to listen to articles on the move. They want to not stare at the screen all the time. I think that's a big development from the pandemic as well. Like, people are a little bit fed up with staring at the screen all the time, and audio frees them from that. It's a different dimension.
Well, since you mentioned the pandemic, and you guys are based in Germany, but you're an international company. You are able to see multiple markets, multiple languages. What do you think there is a market or a language that has particular potential? Obviously, US or UK or English market is very well served. Germany has a massive interior market. What, from your perspective as an international provider, what do you see?
There's a reason why we are going into the Spanish language markets. And when I speak to publishers and as well as platforms like Spotify, for instance, everybody sees that, because like with my music background, I know like many years ago, to sell music, for instance, in Latin America was quite difficult. A lot of piracy, distribution problems and all that. Nowadays with streaming, like the streaming platforms have huge followers, have huge numbers of subscribers in Spanish-speaking languages. And I think it's only logical to make use of that for audiobook, for audio in general as well, because like there's more than 500 million subscribers to these platforms in the world. If we meet 10% of that, the audio market will at least double, I'm sure.
You mentioned piracy, and I think it's very interesting how when content came to the digital world, people were complaining a lot about piracy, and that it seemed to be that I remember that any lackluster sales year was blamed on piracy. It seems that nobody's been talking about that lately. You think that the new platforms, or maybe the lower cost for some of these subscription services, has done something to reduce that, or do you think that piracy is still a problem?
Piracy still exists. You know, people are still downloading stuff somewhere, but like it doesn't have the same impact it used to have, and that's really down to streaming services, and you know, like as well. Like there's always a very critical look at the advertising funded models, for instance in Spotify, but with others as well. Whilst I would like to have more subscribers too, which bring us more money, I think it's a really, really important way of getting people used to a really, really good service. And it's important to get them away from piracy and from platforms which are not good for us into what is now our new music audio podcast world.
Okay. So for I know that you guys you mentioned the Spanish language is growing. I know Carlos is somewhere on here. Yeah. I see him over there, and he's helping you guys. You guys are going after the Spanish-speaking language. For for publishers that are just listening to this and that are looking, it's the audiobook is a bit confusing right now because people realize that they have many things that need to be done. They have to produce the audiobook, find a narrator, distribute it, reconcile sales and things. You can handle all that. What's the difference? What would you say is the differentiating element for Saberlution with respect to other companies? We talked a little bit about some of the things that you guys do particularly well.
I really think that the marketing environment we're creating makes a difference. It's not like I mentioned the app, but as well like we have YouTube landing pages. We have a special link where people can be drawn to other platforms to listen to the stuff. We call it the Lismio link because you have it in the music world, but you don't have it automatically for audiobook, and that's what we are offering now, and I think that's important. We have many connections with Spotify, for instance. We have 800 playlists on Spotify, which we are curating. The app has 800,000 downloads by now, so it's a huge help in making the content visible, and I think that is absolutely essential to go into the production cost, because it's different from ebook. Ebook is just another format. This is a new production. This is a new piece of work, which costs some money, and we fully aware of it. And that's why, for instance, I don't believe in exclusives in certain shops. You can do that if you have a great catalog and everything else is doing well, but it's not good for the format. And as well, I doubt it's good for the publishers in the long run as well, because in one shop you'll never be making your investment back.
So you really become partners with the publishers because you attach your success to their success.
Exactly, absolutely. And that's most of the publishers we're working with are with us for 10 years or more by now. Okay. And it's always like blowing the own trumpet, but it's in 2018 I was awarded Audiobook Person of the Year in Germany because we gave publishers access to another audience and to more money, which is not unimportant in that case. And that's really the German audiobook publishing industry has changed immensely through all that, and years ago they would do windowing. They would release an audiobook in streaming 3 or 6 months later. Nearly all of it has gone now. They do it at the same time. They want to make it available to everybody at the same time.
Now, I had no less than 3 people here asking me about the name of the company. It's a German company. There's a Zebra, Zebralution, Zebra Solutions. Can you tell us the origin of the name? I think it's a very interesting story.
I'm totally football mad, so I go to see football wherever. And my club is a really, really sad little third division club in Germany, and their mascot is a zebra. And that's why we are called Zebralution, as a tribute to my club, who at that time still played at least in the second division, but like nowadays it's in the third. But it's a tribute to my football addiction.
Love it. Nothing like wearing
Are you Betis or Sevilla?
Well, my great-grandfather was the founder of the Sevilla Football Club, so I have to be Sevilla. 7 European Cups in the last 15 years,
I saw
think.
the final and I was very, very happy for Sevilla to win it.
Yeah.
I like Sevilla, and because the first club I saw in Sevilla was FC Sevilla, I'm a supporter too. You know?
Kurt, thank you so much for being with us. For anybody that wants to find out more, you can see the link to the company, to Zebralution, and send your comments, subscribe, like, and we'll get you in touch with Zebralution, the all audio company. That's a great name. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.